I'm Mark,
I'm Paul.
and welcome to the first ever edition of Moonraker, the series where we review every James Bond movie from beginning to end on many different categories, which will be starting tonight with the very first James Bond movie, technically,
It,
Dr. No.
yes, I'm glad you said technically.
Technically, Dr. No.
Yes.
The first proper James Bond movie, serious James Bond movie, Dr. No. We will be reviewing each of the Bond movies on a set of 007 categories, each category being rated from 001 to 007 for a total of 49 points, with perhaps an extra +1 if there's something we really like in the movie to get us to 50.
Yeah.
But tonight, and each time that we do this show, we'll be reviewing the James Bond movies from number one, the pre-title sequence, which is a standard. These are all standards of most of all the James Bond
Yes,
movies.
yes. I'll have down here where you can see what we're talking about.
Yes. Number two, of course, is the theme song. Very extremely important to the James Bond movie. Number three, the plot, as and with locations, because James Bond's is a world traveler. His exploits take him around the world. But of course, we want to review the plot, as you know, with any movie, the plot's pretty important.
The plot is kind of important.
Yeah, kind of important. Number four, you're only as good as your villains and your villains' henchmen in James Bond movies. So we're going to be taking a look at the main villain as well as his or her henchmen, or henchwomen, or hench people.
Hence them.
Hench them. Yes. Number five, of course, the very important Bond girls or Bond women.
The thing we're all waiting for.
Correct. Yes, we will definitely be rating them from 001 to 007. Number six, kind of a catch-all category, the cars, the gadgets, the weapons, the stuff. So the technology present in the James Bond movies, we'll be reviewing that as one big group. And then number seven, a catch-all category that we like to call Bond, James Bond. And that's the actor himself and the character himself, his quips, his mannerisms, his sartorial choices, his ruthlessness, his humor. And so just kind of a taking Bond as he is in that movie. And then, as we said, we'll be rating all of those and then talking about our results and adding them up at the end.
Where does the decimal go
The decimal,
on the double O?
it would be technically there is no decimal.
Oh, okay. I make sure before I said,
Yeah. No, there is no
0.05.
No,
Okay,
there is
all right.
no. It's just double O.
All right.
Double O.
And why are we doing this series in the first one?
So, why are we doing this? Why? Well, because if you've watched any of our other videos on the return of the Son of the Show,
You haven't. Shame on you.
Yes, we have a Saturday edition. Also, on the importance of being earnest editions of the Return of the Son of the Show.
Yes, and our new show that I do with Steve.
Yes,
celebrating the career of Gerard Butler. The Butler did it.
that's correct. So, one thing that typically happens in almost every video we make is that at some point I bring up James Bond. So, in my world, everything goes back to James Bond.
Honestly, 5-minute conversation off camera.
Yes,
James Bond
gets brought up. And so, why? Because I would say it's probably the one thing that bonded my father and I together. So, growing up, I had a dad who I didn't always get along with. But one thing that he allowed me to do and it helped me bond with him was on Sunday night, the ABC Sunday night movie was him letting me stay up late and watch the James Bond movies with him.
Your dad was a Bond fanatic.
Oh, yeah, my dad was a Bond fanatic. So it's really, I mean, I've been watching Bond films since I can remember. As far back as, he would let me sneak out as a little kid and watch them on Sunday nights. And so it was the one thing that, it wasn't not being able to find something he was looking for. It wasn't the can't fix a parent. It wasn't the didn't mow the lawn straight enough.
Yeah,
It was just good yucking and having a good time watching James Bond. And so and I know, and in the comments you could talk about, it's a relic of its time.
Yes. You're a dinosaur, Mr. Bond.
Mr. Bond. But I don't know. I just thought it would be fun to review them.
We honestly don't care.
Yeah, we don't care. Yeah, so we're going to look at, and we'll talk about that. We'll talk about, those things that, and that'll sort of be our catch-all category, the things that might be a little cringy now.
Yeah.
40, 50 years later.
Jamaica went off the air tonight, just like that. Right in the middle of the opening procedure. Rib checked up and Strangways has disappeared. So's his secretary. She was a new girl, we'd only just sent her out there.
Oh, was Strangways on something special? I admire your courage, Miss...
Trench. Sylvia Trench. I admire your luck, Mr.
Bond.
If you carry a 00 number, it means you're licensed to kill, not get killed.
Why is he still alive?
Our attempts failed.
What are you doing here? Looking for shells?
No, I'm just looking. Unfortunately, I misjudged you. You are just a stupid policeman whose luck is run out.
Very clever, Mr. Bond. But you're up against more than you know.
So with our very first moon ranker, we're going to start with category 1 for Dr. No, the pre-title sequence. Paul, would you like to go first?
Is that category 001 or
That would be category 001.
Okay,
Everything
all
is 00. So category 001.
give us a couple episodes.
we'll
We'll get the double O's.
We
Remember?
really are having fun
Yeah.
too with this. So
Yeah. Okay. So the pre-title sequence, as this was the first episode or first movie, I guess.
movie.
It's like they didn't quite have it all. They didn't have their rap down.
No,
So the pre-title sequence, there's not much of one.
right. It comes after the title sequence.
Yes.
So we get, because typically in James Bond movies, you get the sighting on the gun, you get the shot fired, you get the blood coming down, you get the James Bond theme,
Yeah.
you get a pre-title sequence, then it cuts to the more Maurice Binder
Yes.
dancing sequence with lights. And so with this one, it's all one thing. And so that did affect my rating.
Right. And what I did was I looked at it as they didn't quite have their shit together.
Right.
So I had to judge it. I tried not to judge it on things to come.
Correct.
So but based on its own merit, I'm giving the opening a 005.
005. Tell me about it.
Because it was kind of realistic.
Yeah.
You know, the three blind mice guys were kind of cool. It was very just like it was just the realism of it and the fact that it was even when this movie came out, it set a standard for like spy assassin type stuff where dudes are playing cards and drinking in the middle of the day,
Correct.
which is acceptable when you're rich.
Yeah.
And it just worked out really well. So yeah, a 005.
Yeah, it's gone up in my estimation. So Dr. No was never one of my favorite movies as a kid.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, it has jumped leaps and bounds. And so for me, the realism, especially after Daniel Craig trying to be realistic, Timothy Dalton was trying to be realistic first. Yes, I love the realism of it.
Yeah.
But because it's kind of disjointed, I also gave it a 005. I started with a 006, but I took off a 001 since it's technically not a pre-title sequence. So I gave it a 005. But yeah, I like the fact that the three blind mice are not at all they're operatives of Dr. No, and the way that they Strangways just gets shot.
Right.
And I like Strangways at the beginning. He's very much you could see like he could have been a Bond. I mean, he definitely looked like he's definitely cuts the cloth of a. I'm assuming he was a 00.
Probably,
so
yes.
Probably 008 as they always are.
And as we determined that as soon as the file folder got laid down with Dr. No, that whole thing wraps up as the pre-title.
Yes. So good. All right. So now next our category 002 is the theme song. Would you like to?
Well, since there wasn't one, because like we were saying, this was the first one that didn't quite have it all figured out yet, much like our show here.
Yes.
But I'm gonna give it a 007 simply because it's the James Bond theme, and it's one of the greatest, most recognizable theme songs ever. It's one of the few things that hasn't changed in the umpteen decades.
Yeah.
There's been Bond movies. Everybody knows it.
Right.
And it's a banger.
Okay. Yeah, it is. I would agree. For me, okay, so technically
Oh, I know where he's going with this. I couldn't do it.
So no, so technically, you get 3 songs in the
Uh,
theme song. Um, and the James Bond theme is the iconic James Bond theme, but John Barry cuts a second version of it, which shows up in the later movies and kind of finally comes together in Goldfinger. That's my favorite version. So this one is not my favorite version of the iconic theme song,
mm,
but you can't have the rest of them without this one.
right, right.
So I had to give it a 005. Um, because it is the classic theme song, but I did knock it down a little bit because Three Blind Mice song and the
That's where I thought you
under
were
the
going.
no the Three Blind
You were
Mice
going to
song
use that as
is
the.
now gets in my head and never goes away, and so kind of like Under the Mango Tree does as well in this movie. So
Mhm.
yeah, so I knocked it down a little bit. So because you didn't get a full blooded James Bond theme.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah.
I mean, still it's 005, so not too shabby.
Like they could have got Harry Belafonte,
Right.
but they didn't know what they were doing,
Or they couldn't afford him.
or they couldn't
Yeah,
afford him. That's true.
yeah, he was pretty popular by
Yeah.
then, as I reminded myself. Um, okay, so the theme song. So numbers 003, the plot along with locations.
Mhm.
So Paul, your thoughts on the plot?
Um, okay. I have two schools of thought, or two ways to look at this story. One, I love the realism because the first half of the movie is very much like it's not over the top.
Hmm.
It's like what a guy would do in a normal situation. We talked about there wasn't the Roger Moore fighting,
Correct.
and but then they get to the island and it turns into the what we all know as the grandiose
lair.
the grandiose Bond plot.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like two movies in one. Um, the thing about the realism in the first half for me gets a little bit ridiculous with Spider. Like
Yeah.
the guy would have put the spider in the bed, that spider would have and ran away.
Right.
But it just so happened to wait. Oh wait, there's a warm body in the bed. Unless maybe that spider does that.
Well, I wrote my note during the movie. And I've always thought this since I was a kid is who trained that spider to be an assassin?
Right.
Is that
right.
spider a member of Spectre?
Man, yeah.
Like a member of Spectre? Get out, long legs.
or when they're in the big where they got all the different members of Spectre,
Yeah.
there's a spider sitting in a chair.
Yeah.
Because
Wait. Number 8.
Yeah, he would be
Please
number 8.
report. Yes, he's number. Or she would be talking about, yes, there's Daddy Longlegs. Will bite you in your sleep, and then there's the one with the explosive teddy bear.
That's right, an explosive abdomen.
Yes.
For the disjointedness, I'm going to give it a 003.
Okay. All right. Yeah, for me, okay, so since we're rating it with the locations too, so this is hard. The
Yeah.
plot one with the locations is difficult for me.
Yeah.
So I might have to average out my score. I think for the locations, 006 for me, because I mean,
Yeah,
the Jamaica setting was great.
It's actually, we found out, filmed in
It's filmed in Jamaica, so this is not. I mean, yes, some of it was done on the backstages, but especially I'm sure the lair. But yeah, I love the Jamaican setting. I love the first half. More and more each time I see it now as an adult. I love the straight ahead. The fact that he just puts like his hair on the closet to make sure it's not disturbed.
Yeah.
He just puts a little bit of talcum powder on to make sure. So he's doing what I would consider normal, run of the mill spy stuff.
Right.
And his fighting style is great. I was going to save that for later, but yeah, the fact that he's sort of dealing with trying not to get killed while he does an investigation, that's really cool. Yeah. For me, it's when they get to the island that it kind of. Actually, the island sequence is where it falls off for me, and then it kind of kicks back up again with the ending.
Yeah.
But and when Dr. No finally comes on the scene, so I love Dr. No, but yeah, that middle section kind of sags, and so and I for me. What happens to Quarrel? I will never forgive them for killing my man Quarrel. Quarrel.
Yeah.
You knew you were gonna die, Quarrel, and you still went anyway.
Well, he was drunk.
I know.
I call that rum.
I know, but that's why you burn up.
Yeah, it just exploded.
So
I like I could watch the first half of this movie and over and over again and just like go do laundry. I always bring up laundry. Go do laundry during the middle until they get to the all the
So
explosion
that's
stuff at
exactly
the
when
end.
it's on Pluto TV. I
Mhm,
will sit there and watch the
mhm,
entire first half. The minute they get on the boat to Crab Key,
mhm.
I'm going to flip on my phone. I'm going to walk around. I'm going to do some chores,
Yep.
right? And then I come back for the end scene. That's exactly what I do. So
Mhm.
for that, the locations I had as 006. The plot I'm giving 004. So I guess that averages out to 5. I'm doing a lot of 5s. But now, you know what? I'm gonna knock it down. I'm gonna call 004 because it's just too just. I agree with you. It's too disjointed. Okay,
What a-
so category number 4: the villain slash henchman.
Uh, I'm just gonna I'm gonna give it a 003
Okay.
because and because Doctor No, eh, he's not scary enough. When the one dude is in the gets the spider in the weird
Uh-huh.
room with the
Yeah.
whatever modulation they were using, that was pretty cool.
Right.
But then they have him just show up and be just not he's not like scary. He's no like Telly Savalas. He's no because he's one of the scariest people on the planet in
Yeah.
movies, in
Yeah.
my opinion. He's just kind of a guy with jacked up hands. The three blind mice are cool though. I like them because they're just like assassins.
Yeah.
You know. The other thing is I did find out that uh the guy that played Doctor No,
Mm-hmm.
who of course is not Chinese
No.
or even half Chinese,
No.
um he was like was it Emperor Gargo or whatever from the Buck Rogers TV show that
Oh. Okay.
we're reviewing.
Okay.
Yeah, I just thought that was kind. I'm like, who is that guy?
Yeah.
I'm fighting through that makeup,
Yeah.
and I'm like, because what's I think Emperor. What the heck is his name? I wrote it down.
Let me look it up.
Uh, Emperor Draco.
Okay. Draco. Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
I mean, Emperor Draco is supposed to be sort of Asian
Mm-hmm.
because it was the style of the time.
Right.
But I just thought that was funny. But no, I'm going to give them collectively a 3.
Okay. So that's what I'm gonna have to do too. I'm gonna have to kind of average the two together because
Hmm.
in this one, to me, it's way different.
Hmm.
So, for me, so this is early James Bond. There is no classic henchman.
Yeah,
So there's no like right
Jaws.
arm man, if
Yeah,
you will. And so I like the fact that it's a bunch of us. It's just basically a bunch of operatives. It's kind
yeah,
of
yeah,
what
yeah,
add up to be the hench. So you
yeah.
get um you get the driver in the beginning who basically just kills himself, and so he wasn't much of a henchman.
Yeah.
I wrote some notes here. So Professor Dent, who's kind of a bumbling
Mm,
I mean, he's a henchman too,
yeah, yeah.
technically, and so he can't get anything right.
Well,
Uh,
that's what kind of makes this. Again, it goes back to me in the first half. It kind of just makes it a spy movie,
yeah, it is,
you
and
know.
to me that lacks the henchman factor.
Hmm.
And then you get what's her name? So I think really for me the it's the evil female henchman, the Ms. Tarot,
Hmm.
and who tries to seduce and then have Bond killed.
Tries to
Tries to
seduce.
seduce, yes. And so
You don't seduce James Bond.
no, I
James
know.
Bond
Yeah, he
seduces you
seduces you, which is what he does.
a,
And of
a
course, you have the
lot.
little photographer. But a
Yes.
lot of it, I think, falls off. I think time has not been kind to any of the casting
Hmm.
for the villains and the henchmen, so
Yeah.
that kind of affects my viewing now. So I do love though Doctor No's Nehru jacket, and so for that I gotta give him points.
Mm.
And I do love his hands. I like the fact that he is sort of the Doctor Octopus of James
He's the
Bond.
Doctor Octopus of
So,
James Bond.
me and Doc Ock.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
so yeah, I'm going to average it out to be a 004
Mm.
because I just think it doesn't. He's not. I mean, I think it's ironic that he dies because of his hands. His hands can't grip
Yeah.
to get
Yeah,
to
you see
escape.
like the
Yeah,
scratches on the metal.
But there's not much to him. He's not very much involved in the movie
Yeah.
like the other villains are. So yeah,
Mhm.
he's too much at the end. And so yeah, 004.
Yeah.
All right. Number 5, the Bond girl.
Number
I mean,
what?
sorry, 005.
Okay. Oh,
The Bond. I gotta bring
okay.
double. Okay, the Bond girl.
I
Honey
think what
Rider.
I think what you mean by the Bond girl is the Bond girl.
The Bond girl. Yeah.
Ursula Andress, 007. That's it.
Wow. Okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
She's the prototype. She's the one that gets spoofed so much in spy movies. You know,
Yeah.
the girl in the bikini with the cool belt on the beach,
Mhm.
getting shells. She's the model.
Wow. Okay, we're gonna disagree here.
That's fine, man.
It's all right. So I only give her a 004.
All right, that's
The reason being is, um, yeah, okay. Physically, she is the Bond girl. I agree. That's where they cut. That's where they get it. But as far as like Honey Rider, the personality, I just find her irritating. I find her they can't decide, is she a 12-year-old? Was she homeschooled? So because she was homeschooled, she's bright but not so bright,
It's
not
a little
socially.
weird
It's a little disturbing.
when she's talking about, I didn't have school, I have an encyclopedia. I bet I know more than you. I'm like, James Bond's like, I'm gonna nail this 11-year-old.
Right.
You know?
Well, and of course, James Bond has an encyclopedic memory as well. He's gotten farther than T. She's only gotten to T, by the way. So she got through S. So she should know.
She should know a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah. But yeah, her she doesn't serve much of a purpose.
Yeah.
Like there's hints, like in the beginning when she kind of takes them out, tour the island, and she seems kind of tough. If they had like always gone with her being tough,
Mm-hmm.
but they just had to make her, the victim. And so I don't get behind. She's not the. For me, I have my Bond girl, and so she is not it. So only a 004 for me. So, but I get what you're saying. I understand.
None of the
She has the trappings of what comes later.
yeah, but none of the women, and I'm not looking for like great character development in a Bond movie, but none of the women in this movie are much more than just there to be there so that James Bond can be like, hey, you want to take me for a
right?
ride?
No,
later?
I agree.
So they're across the board.
I prefer my Bond women a little more three-dimensional.
Well, but that's why I stand with a 7.
No, I get you. I get what you're saying.
If we're judging this one solely on this movie alone,
she still drives me crazy. It's my least favorite part of the movie, and she is the main part in it. It's my least favorite part. But, I mean, yeah. Okay. 007 to look at. But, Anyway. Anyway, so we agree to disagree.
That's fine.
Okay. So, 006 category. The cars, gadgets, and weapons.
The dragon was weak.
Yeah.
You got this vehicle on treads that weighs probably about 20,000 pounds.
Yeah.
And it's on mushy sand.
Yeah.
And the only reason why the dumb natives think it's a dragon is it has a flamethrower on it for some reason.
Right.
And
if Coral wouldn't know what a flamethrower was.
Somebody drew, like shark teeth on it.
Yeah.
So the dragon was weak, but it did introduce the famous Bond gun.
It did, but see, for me, in such a weird way, the fact that he doesn't want it.
Because he doesn't like change.
I know.
So
what'd you give it?
003.
Okay, I'm gonna go with a 001. Because he has his briefcase doesn't do anything. He's got a gun. Now I think at one point his watch activates the Geiger counter.
Yeah.
The cars aren't all that memorable.
No.
In fact, I had to look up the cool car, the very first car. All right, so technically he drive the guy that took him from the airport clearly has to drive that car back with a dead body in it. But the car that he first drives is a I had to look this up, a 1961 Sunbeam Alpine Series 2.
Hey, man.
Who cares? So so yeah, so for me it's a 001. There's so much more cool stuff to come. I mean I do get it. I am a fan. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but of the Spectre era where they say, well, we don't go in for all that kind of stuff anymore when Q says that. But I do like my gadgets. So
Well, if I was gonna rate this on the entire collection of Bond movies,
yeah.
it would barely make a 001. But judging it on itself, I'm a 003.
Okay. I'm just gonna keep it a 1 because I didn't really see any gadgets that stuck out to me.
Right.
So all right. And then finally, 007 himself, James Bond.
I'm gonna give him a 006.
Oh,
Here's why. Because all the notes for James Bond are there.
okay.
Except for they touch on the shaken not stirred thing, but he's got his lines, he's got his fighting, he's got his ability to woo women,
Mhm.
he's got his cool under pressure. He's like this is what Bond was, but the stuff around him was just flimsy.
Okay.
So I'd give him a 007 if it was a better movie.
Oh,
But
okay.
I think his portrayal of himself is a 006.
Okay. I'm going to give him a 007 because for me, this sets the tone for everything else. And so the fact that I'm not sure even Sean Connery could replicate the James Bond that we first get in the casino. Which there's a little story behind that. Apparently, he was really nervous and kept screwing up badly that line, and so they had Miss Trench, Sylvia Trench, took him out for a few drinks, got him a little tipsy and relaxed, and that's when he was able to make.
See,
that
we were
scene.
talking about that, about the amount of alcohol consumed in this movie.
Yeah.
This is back in the days when dudes drank their lunch
Yeah.
and shit got done.
Yeah, and your office had its own bar in it, and so, but for me, I think this is like him peak physically. I think he's tough. His fighting style is fantastic. I mean, he actually beats the crap out of people. He's ruthless. He coldly kills the professor.
Yeah.
I mean, he just like, oh, your shots are up, bam, and that
Shot him in the ass.
Yeah,
too.
yeah. And so I just love the fact how tough he is. He just doesn't give two shits. The only reason I would knock him down to a 006 is there is a part. Oh well, I'm sorry. And he also where he kind of bugs his own room with the hair and everything. I love that. I just love the simple spy. He's both the realistic spy, but he's also James Bond. That's why I like this version of him in this movie. But the only maybe he'd be a 006.5 is I think the worst part of the movie because my man Coral is when he tells Coral to fetch his shoes.
Oh yeah, he
I
practically calls him boy.
Yeah, that's very hard to take. You know, I mean, 'cause Coral really is basically a CIA. I guess he's not a CIA operative, but he basically is in collusion with the CIA. So I mean, Coral's the man. And so
yeah, I liked him. I thought it was a good character.
Yeah. So for me, that's the only thing. But for me, this sets the tone of what is to come. But it's not too over the top. He does have some quips. He has some, although the one with the car goes over there on their way to a funeral, not the best one.
Yeah.
But for me, it's just the scene, the iconic scene where James Bond, James Bond in the casino. That to me is like,
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But like I said, it's the material he had to work with that kind of brings it down a little bit for me.
Oh yeah, he gets better. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, all right. So that is our 007 category. So now we will do some math. I'm going to do some and total up her rating.
Magic of editing.
Yes, we will do our totals.
Okay, so then since it'll probably be a double digit, do we do O or do we double O? Okay, I want to make sure. I want to get this game right.
All right, Paul. For Dr. No, out of a total possible maximum of 0049, what do you give Dr. No on your moon ranking?
I give it a 0034.
Oh, okay. So I think mine got hit with the gadgets. I ended up with a 0030,
Hmm.
but I think because of the gadgets,
Yeah.
knocked me down. So not bad. Figure.
So what's that average?
Well, let's figure that out through the magic of editing, and because I've been having to do this for my end of the year reports month. That gives us a respectable. Well, I'm at a 61%, so kind of a D plus. That doesn't make sense. But and you had a 34 divided
Yeah.
by 4. You're at a 70. Yep. So about 70, 60, between 65 and 70%. Not bad for a first outing.
For a first outing,
Yeah.
I mean, it obviously did something right that they kept making so many more.
Oh yeah, for forever. It doesn't.
Still.
It doesn't ever stop.
Yeah, because what was it, 64?
I believe so. Yeah,
I think I saw that in the end credits.
Yeah, 64. So yeah, it's been going strong. Still is going strong. So, any final thoughts on Dr. No?
No.
That's what I want to hear. Me either. No, Dr. No.
This was the one, okay, next to, oh God, what was the horrible one we watched?
Oh, Diamonds Are Forever.
Yeah. Next to, okay, not Diamonds Are Forever notwithstanding. This is the one I've probably seen the least.
Yeah.
And with good reason. I mean, I saw it once when I was a kid. When probably once at your house, and then like once on when I got HBO Max, and I think it was HBO Max. I ended up with like all the Bond movies.
Correct.
I got the bright idea to start from the beginning and kind of quit after this one. So yeah. Those are my final thoughts.
Yeah, for me, my final thoughts are Dr. No continues. The first half of Dr. No, to me, gets better and better as I age, while the second half falls off more.
Yeah.
So Dr. No is sort of, it's sort of in the middle of the pack for me, as far as ones I come back to, iconic ones.
We need to include in the location furniture fashion or furniture style, because my God, that would have changed my score entirely if I would have thought for a second to include. We
could go on. Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about the set designs of this movie, I mean, but I think it would be unfair to rate the James Bond movies based on their furniture, given the fact that the 60s style versus the 70s style, it gets pretty rough.
Well, that would make like an interesting
we could. Let us know in the comments if you also would like us to rate the decor.
Yeah,
and
that's the word I was looking for.
The zeitgeist, does it serve its time? Yes, the decor. Should we look at the decor?
Everything in this movie, I pray to God one day I'll find like at Goodwill or a thrift shop.
Yes, yeah.
That's how awesome
I want my leather couch door.
just a leather door.
Yeah, just a leather door.
Who thought that was? Who thought that up?
But I don't know. Maybe that's a real thing. I mean, let us know if you're from England. Let us know if all British Secret Service buildings have. Does MI5 currently have leather doors?
Secret Service. Let us know down below.
Bullets better, maybe, or sound? Is it soundproofing?
I think it's probably soundproofing because that was back during the time when like walls were stout.
Yeah.
So the door was just a sheet of oak, maybe.
Yeah. So they had to put couch cushions.
they put couch cushions on the doors
to block it out. Yes. So that Moneypenny couldn't hear everything M was talking about. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all right.
So, all right. Well, anyway, for the very first episode of Moonraker, I'm Mark.
I'm Paul.
And we don't have an endline.
We don't have an endline. Let us know what our endline should be down below.
Yeah. Oh, I got it.
All right.
Oh, hold on.
We'll do all right.
All right. Well, that's it for our very first episode of Moonraker. I'm Mark.
I'm Paul.
And just like James Bond, we will return.
I need another 1,000.
I admire your courage, Miss...
Trench. Sylvia Trench. I admire your luck, Mr.